You already know about the best parts of Disney World, from the rides to the restaurants to the over-the-top fireworks displays and of course the food. But what happens when the worst parts of Disney threaten to ruin the most magical place on Earth for you? Let's expose Disney's weaknesses and transform them into your greatest strengths. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. When you're already in the trenches of Disney World planning, the last thing you probably want to do is hear about the worst parts of your already expensive vacation that you've been planning for like months, maybe even years. But we are not here to trash talk Disney World today. We love that place. Rather, we're here to point out some major downsides and issues that you're bound to run into while you're there and give you some solid solutions for how to get around those, or at the very least, give you some helpful tools to brace yourself when they threaten your trip. Speaking of helpful tools, here's your first one. We got free Disney World planning worksheets you can download right now just by scanning the QR code you see on the screen, or you can go to disneyfoodblog.com/disneyplans and grab this digital guide today, which you can choose to keep on your phone, your browser, or create as a printout to fill out by hand if you prefer, because you have beautiful penmanship. All right, let's start with an obvious one, but we're going to dig into it a little bit. The sheer size and complexity of Disney World. Many first-time guests assume that Disney World is mainly the place where you'll find Cinderella Castle, but that's only a sliver of the entire property. With 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, Disney Springs, tons of hotels, Disney World is a big place. It is so big, in fact, it's around the same size as San Francisco, which is hard to wrap your head around until you're there. And then it makes sense when you're on buses forever. While it's awesome to know you're never going to be bored while you're in Disney World because there's so much to do there, the amount of space this place takes up can be overwhelming. How do you get from place to place? Where should you start in each of the parks? Which resort is worth your money? Is there a restaurant you should be prioritizing over all the others? Now, if I started going into all the 101 right now, that'd take up the rest of the video and actually morph into a full-length feature film that'd give James Cameron's 3-hour Avatar movie a run for its money. Yes, it would be all underwater. But good news, we've already built a whole video playlist on our channel with dozens of videos that first-timers or folks who just need a refresh on how the parks work because so much has changed in the past couple years can watch to get the major breakdowns for the best tricks and tips and planning strategies while navigating around Disney World. Now, you don't have to worry about going all deer in the headlights once you arrive. We've done it for you. We got it for you. Just head to our playlists. All right, next thing that's going to be annoying for you is hidden charges on your Disney World bill. As a starry-eyed Disney guest, you save up money all year round to go on that epic Disney World vacation, only to find out what you've saved still isn't enough to cover all the hidden charges you're coming across. For example, there are transportation costs to get you to and from the airport, the $100 authorization hold on your card when you book a room with Disney, which thankfully you'll get back at the end of your stay, just as long as you don't charge or damage anything in the room. Those tourist taxes, which end up adding about an extra $30 plus per night of your hotel stay. Automatic gratuity for parties of 6 or larger at restaurants, which adds an 18% tip to your bill automatically. Cancellations and no-show fees if you happen to miss your dining reservation for whatever reason, including your toddler throwing a tantrum, which happens all the time, and you didn't cancel the reservation in time. And peak season price hikes, which happen to park tickets, hotel rooms, Genie Plus add-ons, ride shares, etc. around the busiest times of the year. So it's stressful enough to budget for the main stuff without having to worry about the sneaky extras that'll threaten to push your vacation funds over the edge that you don't even know about till you get there. But that's a big reason why we recommend following 2 strategies. 1, over budget. Whatever you think you're going to need to save to pay for your Disney trip, save an extra $200 to $300 just in case you need that safety net money for an expense you weren't expecting. Even if you don't wind up spending that extra money, it's still better to come home with cash left over than be pulling money from your bank account that you were wanting to use on groceries and not more vacation fees. 2, seek guidance from the professionals. Disney-trained travel agents like our friends at Small World Vacations can help you create a realistic budget while also tracking down the best possible savings to apply to your trip. And they're free to use. If you want to reach out to this fabulous team to make your travel planning way easier, check out the Small World Vacations link in our bio. Ask for a quote today. Again, it's free and you don't have to use them. It's just good to know what your options are. Okay, next is inconsistent hours. So Disney World doesn't operate on a strict schedule. Park hours, restaurants, showtimes, even certain rides fluctuate nearly daily. One day, Magic Kingdom might stay open until 10 p.m. The next day, it might be closing at 6 because of an after-hours party. Or Fantasmic and Hollywood Studios might have 2 showings on one night, but only 1 showing on another night. Quick service locations aren't always guaranteed to make it till nightfall. A few prime examples of this include Friar's Nook and Magic Kingdom, closes at 5, Ronto Roasters and Hollywood Studios closes at 3, and Pizza Safari and Animal Kingdom closes at 4:30. While several festival booths around Epcot do stay open until the park closes, others can close earlier, especially when they're starting to run low on supplies. And rides like Kilimanjaro Safari and Animal Kingdom, some close an hour before the park does for the animals to start getting ready for their nighttime routines. It's always best to check on the hours and events calendar via the Disney World website before your trip, but you'll also want to check on those opening and closing times again the day of your visit on the My Disney Experience app, just in case a show schedule had to shift around at the last minute for whatever reason. And when it comes to festival food booths or snack kiosks that close early, try to hit those locations up early too, so you don't miss out on that must-eat item on your snack list. Oh my goodness, this next one is very, very painful. It is the unfathomable pressure to have fun on your trip. This is going to hit you harder than you realize. I know you think I'm absolutely bizarre for even talking about this, but you will be surprised. So Disney World is a vacation you're investing a lot into. You're talking about money, you're waking up early to make dining reservations, you're purchasing all the matching outfits for your group, you're taking vacation days, you watch countless DFB videos, right? That takes a lot of time. But if something out of your control goes wrong, the knee-jerk reaction is to feel like all that saving and planning and pent-up excitement was all for nothing. And it just feels like the end of the world. You guys know I've been to Disney World a bunch. I've been on a bunch of Disney cruises. I'm taking my mom on a Disney cruise, and somehow I've been able to book us a cabana on Castaway Cay, which is a super, super hard thing to do. Like, nobody gets those. And so I'm sitting here freaking out, checking like the hurricane forecast every single day because it will just destroy me if I put all that effort and money into booking that. And then it's going to rain on that one day at Castaway Cay, and we're not going to be able to enjoy it. It just feels like everything is for naught if that one day doesn't work out. So I hope you get the vibe. You've all felt like this about something before, right? Like you put all this time and effort into, this birthday party for your kid, and like one thing goes wrong and then the whole thing's just a shambles. So that's pressure that we put on ourselves to have the best day ever and to make sure that it's worth all this money and time and effort we're putting into it. And then we've got pressure from our friends, and we've got pressure from our frenemies too, who are like, oh, I hope you have a great time. And then they don't really mean it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But like, if you come back and you didn't have the best time ever, was it a super waste? You know what I mean? It combines pride and FOMO and lots of other complex feelings that you'd rather not be thinking about when you're in line to meet Mickey Mouse and friends. So here's a big old truth bomb for you. Something will go wrong on your vacation, and you will be fine. Sometimes the mess ups are the things we look back on fondly, like a rainstorm can end in a puddle jumping contest through the park, or a bird pooping on your shoulder becomes the ongoing inside joke across your family, or the closed ride you'd been looking forward to might free up enough time to check out a different attraction that you may not have gotten the chance to see otherwise. But you have to be in the right mind frame to accept the hiccups and move on, because if you're not, it will ruin the whole trip for you and everybody else. So please don't stress out over everything being worth it, because the truth is not everything will be, but the vacation as a whole, with all those memories built in, will make those inconveniences not nearly as depressing. Think about big picture, y'all. Make sure you got a plan B or C or D or XYZ in case your plan A doesn't end up working for you. And agree with your family or the people that you're going with that you're going to have a great time no matter what. And when things go wrong, you're going to laugh it off. Just have that be the policy, and everything's going to be okay. I'll keep you updated on Castaway Cay, by the way. I'll let you know what happens. All right, so Disney World likes to keep things super fresh, so construction around the property happens all the time. And that's fine and all, except if a Disney World trip is a one and done for you, or you don't plan on returning for a really long time. Because if that's the case, then all the walls around Epcot can be off-putting, and the pool closures at the resorts can be a major disappointment, and the scaffolding around Splash Mountain as it transforms into Tiana's Bayou Adventure can serve as a big reminder of what you're missing out on. I once went on a trip to London with my family, and the whole Palace of Westminster and the Big Ben Tower were covered with scaffolding, and I was like, what in the world? Is that legal to screw up everyone's vacation pictures this way? And of course it is. I mean, because, just FYI, like, London isn't just there for our vacations. I don't know if you guys knew that, but they do other stuff there. But anyway, that was annoying. And the same thing will happen to you in Disney World. There will be stuff under scaffolds. There will be stuff that is under construction. There'll be things that are closed, and you'll just be like, that's not fair, but it has to be. So these closures, these major refurbs, this construction, it's such a major part of the Disney bubble, and Disney is constantly updating its website to reflect these closures, and they do it a lot. They do it pretty far in advance, so you can know what's going to be closed when you're there. Make sure you're checking regularly on things, though, because they're not going to call you up and say, hey, FYI, Sally, the Canada Pavilion's under construction and the waterfall's going to be closed, so just in case you were planning on going to the waterfall and getting a picture there, you're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to call you and tell you that, so that's something that you need to just kind of keep an eye on the website, keep an eye on our website too, because we're going to show you that stuff as well, so you know what's going on. And if you do grab those planning worksheets I was talking about earlier, that signs you up for our newsletter. And so you can get those construction updates sent right to your email without having to go out and do the extra research yourself. If you don't want to be signed up for the newsletter, you're free to unsubscribe at any time, and you still get to keep the free planning worksheets. But if you want to stay in the know leading up to your big vacation, stick around. We promise to make it worth your time. Okay, you know how I mentioned your toddler's tantrum earlier? Well, we're going to talk about meltdowns next. It is hot. You're hungry. The kids did not sleep well last night. Everyone's feet hurt. The ride you've already waited an hour to experience just broke down, and cast members don't know when or if it'll be back. So lots of factors can lead to major mental breakdowns for kids and adults alike. Arguments happen, tensions run high, feelings are hurt, and suddenly that initial excitement that the whole family had when you drove through the Disney World arches has disappeared. So let's set the record straight. If kiddos burst into tears in the middle of their park day because they didn't get something they wanted, that doesn't automatically make them spoiled. And if an adult suddenly snaps at someone else in the group, that doesn't make them mean. More often than not, it means these group members are overstimulated and exhausted by just how much is happening around them at all times. So what happens in Disney World stays in Disney World, y'all. But there are ways to keep you from reaching your breaking point. When you're traveling with kids, try to stick to a familiar schedule as much as you can. If you stay up one night for the fireworks, give the kids and yourself permission to sleep in a little bit the next morning and maybe take a pool day or something like that. And don't skip out on eating 3 squares a day, even if that just means a quick granola bar or a Pop-Tart. I know, it's not really a square meal, but you get it, that you can munch on before heading out the door. Don't let yourself get hangry. As for the adults, don't forget to check in on yourselves too, as well as the other folks in your group. If you need to stop to rest your feet or have a snack or refill your water bottle, talk about it. Don't wait until you're dehydrated or sick to your stomach before speaking up about what you need while you're jumping between rides and shows and different parks. This vacation is costing way too much money for you to not have a good time. Now, this is a complaint that a lot of folks have in Disney World right now, and you might too, and that's feeling like you're glued to your phone. So much Imagineering goes into the parks. It's absolutely incredible. There's so much to look at. Cute window displays down Main Street, USA, the animal carvings on the Tree of Life in Animal Kingdom, cement handprints from movie stars in Hollywood studios, an active volcano overlooking the Mexico Night Market in Epcot. And yet so much of your time is taken up staring at your phone screen that you might wind up missing some of the coolest parts of the parks. The My Disney Experience app is a nifty free tool to have downloaded onto your phone ahead of your trip because it keeps track of basically every single part of it. I'm talking dining reservations, mobile order, hotel room key cards, photo pass pictures, lightning lanes, ride wait times, literally so much stuff crammed into one little app. But because so much of your trip's details are kept on the My Disney Experience app, it can feel like the majority of your day is just checking your phone for ride updates and lightning lanes and mobile ordering and just staring at your screen instead of living in the moment of your vacation. And that means you're going to need some major phone relief throughout the day. One of the main reasons you'll find yourself eyeballing your phone more often than not is to keep track of your lightning lanes. But you're not always going to need lightning lanes for every day of your trip. While Disney Genie Plus is nice to have on hand for parks like Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, you might want to skip out on the extra expense for your Epcot and Animal Kingdom days, since they don't have as many rides, and the rides they do have typically see shorter waits than the other 2 parks. Another reason why you might be staring at your screen more than you want to is if you're unfamiliar with how to navigate around the My Disney Experience app and all its different features. Make sure to download the app ahead of time, play around with it before your trip. That way you can spend less time in the parks trying to figure out how it works and more time appreciating your trip. It's also a good idea to plan ahead and figure out what rides you want to secure Lightning lanes for and what mobile orders you want to lock in before your visit, so you can spend less time scrolling through the app trying to figure out what to do next while you're in the middle of your park day. And if it's possible, you can always have another adult or two in your group download the My Disney Experience app onto their phones too. If other group members also have access to your party's Disney account, then you guys can take turns on the app, making plans and selecting reservations. All right, you know all that money you're putting towards those park tickets? Yeah, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to be able to snag everything you want to while inside the parks. Virtual queues for new rides can book up within seconds of releasing. Lightning lanes get snatched up before you get the chance to grab them for your group. Limited edition popcorn buckets, those sell out before you make it to the front of the quick service line. That dining reservation your kid desperately wanted could be gone by the time you log onto the website. Even ECVs can sell out in the morning, meaning you might have to be put on a wait list until someone else returns theirs before heading out of the park. My best advice for combating all the sellouts: be early. Early. During the first virtual queue drop of the day for rides like Tron Light Cycle Run and Guardians of the Galaxy, make sure you're up and at 'em and logged into your MDE app before 7 a.m. By the way, beginning at 6 a.m., you can actually tap into the virtual queue and set your party ahead of time so you have fewer steps to worry about when boarding groups go live. For Lightning lanes, same rules apply. Get up and around by 7 a.m. to select your first ride of the day, even before the parks open. If a popcorn bucket is what you're after, and you know it's going to be a popular one, make that your number one priority stop at the start of your day. That being said, if you don't want to waste a whole lot of your morning in line just for a popcorn bucket, when you could be using this time getting in line for rides, check the quick services mobile order menu. See if you can purchase a popcorn bucket through mobile order instead. They're doing this more and more often now, and it's a great thing. That'll save you some time and secure your bucket without you having to carry it around all day. Now, dining reservations can be made for table service restaurants 60 days before the start of your trip, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern. And as far as ECVs are concerned, they don't tend to sell out all the time, but there's a better chance of them selling out around busier times of the year, like the holiday season. Remember, guests staying at a Disney World resort have that early theme park entry benefit, meaning you can enter any of the parks on any day 30 minutes before they open for everyone else. This could give you just the upper hand you need when it comes to getting an ECV before the rest of the crowds roll in. You might also want to consider renting an ECV through a third-party company instead. Lots of outside companies will deliver your ECV to your hotel so that you don't have to worry about transporting it yourself, and you can take these from park to park rather than having to worry about renting a new one from each park you jump to. Staying at the Disney World resorts does have its perks. You've got complimentary transportation to the parks, early theme park entry, fun theming, and activities going on at all times throughout the day, but the major resort perks aren't what they used to be. This is definitely something to pay attention to if your last trip to Disney World was pre-COVID. Ever since those 2020 closures, Disney hotels have changed. Once upon a time, extended evening hours used to be a benefit that all hotel guests could get for their select evenings at certain parks. Now only deluxe resort guests have access to this perk. Complimentary Magic Bands used to be sent to families who booked a Disney room, but since the free Magic Mobile on your My Disney Experience app now does the same thing that those Magic Bands did, those freebies stopped showing up in guests' mailboxes ahead of their trips, though you're still more than welcome to purchase them yourselves. And the package delivery service, which used to be available for Disney hotel guests, giving them the option to have gift shop purchases delivered back to their rooms instead of having to carry them around all day, is still MIA in Walt Disney World. So if you make a big gift shop purchase at the parks, you're either going to have to carry it around all day, retreat back to your hotel room and drop it off, or keep it in a locker at the front of the park, which you'll have to pay around $10 to $15 for, depending on the size. Or D, have that item shipped back home to you. You'll have to let the cast member behind the register know that's what you'd like to do. Just be prepared to fill out some paperwork and pay the extra fee for postage. Now, if any of these perks were the main reason you wanted to stay at a Disney World resort in the first place, then you may want to skip the extra expense for staying on property and pick to stay at a cheaper Good Neighbor hotel instead. Good Neighbors aren't owned by Disney, but they do partner with Disney to give guests a more affordable hotel room stay with some of the Disney resort perks. Often we've been able to find full family suites at Good Neighbor hotels for around the same price, if not cheaper, than what you'd pay for a standard room at Disney's cheapest hotel, All Star Sports. Not only that, but a handful of Good Neighbor hotels also have continental breakfasts to guarantee you one free meal each day. Some also have free drink coupons, complimentary happy hour snacks, and discount booklets that you can redeem at nearby Orlando restaurants restaurants for some extra savings on your meals. Now, this isn't true for all the Good Neighbor options out there since there's over 40 to choose from, so make sure to do your research ahead of time and figure out what hotels will give you the best bang for your buck. So you know those old movies where the backdrop during the driving scenes start to repeat, so you start seeing the same trees and shops and pedestrians in the background? Yeah, that's basically what it feels like after going into a few of the Disney World gift shops for a few days. Because once you've been inside the world of Disney over at Disney Springs or the Emporium at Magic Kingdom, you basically got the overview of all the latest Disney World merch. So many of the shops you'll swing by after that are going to show you the same Loungefly, the same t-shirts, the same hats and spirit jerseys and Nuimos and pins, duplicates, all of it. But to be fair, that's not true for all the Disney World shops. Some of them really do have different things that you're not going to find at any other merchandise location, and I'm so glad that they do. The World Showcase in Epcot is the biggest example of this, since all the pavilions have shops that reflect more authentic items from their respective country. A few of our favorite stores around the showcase include Mitsukoshi Department Store in Japan, the House of Good Fortune in China, the Canadian Trading Post in Canada, and the Open Air Marketplace in Mexico. Those are awesome places to shop for friends back home because you're going to get them things that they are not going to get from anybody else. Now, Wind Traders over in Pandora and Animal Kingdom is centered around all things Na'vi and Banshees and Avatar-inspired stuff. This is also the place where you'll be able to find those humongous shoulder Banshee creatures or create your own Avatar figure that looks just like you. Speaking of which, another unique location to create your own action figure is now over at the Tomorrowland Launch Depot in Magic Kingdom. This is where you're going to be able to make yourself into a character worthy of entering the grid through the Tron Identity program. This is also a place where you can purchase Tron-specific apparel and toys and ears and other futuristic-looking light-up accessories. Another shop that sells unique and specific attraction merchandise inside Magic Kingdom is Memento Mori. That's the official gift shop for Haunted Mansion. Here, you're going to find items like clothing inspired by the mansion's wallpaper, glow-in-the-dark Happy Haunt chessboards, bookends that look like the busts from the library, and several other ghoulish souvenirs that'll fill your spooky little spirits with glee. As far as the hitchhiking ghost following you home, that guy is free. Compliments of a mansion. And inside Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios, the Black Spire Outpost Marketplace isn't just somewhere to shop for unique Star Wars merch, but to further immerse yourself inside the planet of Batuu in a galaxy far, far away. In fact, you won't find anything that says Star Wars in Galaxy's Edge because what's Star Wars? They don't know what that is. They're just an outpost in a galaxy of scoundrels and emperors trying to make their way. Now, if you want a truly unique Disney-inspired tee before your big trip and not a shirt or sweater that everyone else is going to have that they bought from Target or Shop Disney, then make sure to check out our DFB stuff on the dfbstore.com website after this. We got tons of fun designs and styles that you're not going to find in any of the Disney gift shops, so be sure to browse around until you find a style you fall in love with, which shouldn't take too terribly long. They're pretty cool. Another one of the worst things about Disney World is other people. Am I allowed to say that? I think you get what I mean. Other people in Disney World can impact how you feel about your trip more than you realize. You might see some people being rude to cast members or attempting to cut in line, getting in full-on fights with other guests. Doesn't happen very often, but it has, and the list goes on. So how do you keep from having these unruly folks grind your gears? First and foremost, let these folks become your cautionary tale, because if you're made uncomfortable by the way they're behaving, then you don't want to mirror that behavior yourself. One of the best ways to provoke kindness is to give it out willingly, which can be easier said than done when you're hot and tired and stressed. Now, when you're interacting with cast members, keep in mind that they do a lot for guests constantly, every single day. We've seen them create some magical moments, and we want to make sure that these cast members are being appreciated for all their hard work, because believe me, they're not appreciated as much as they should be. So don't be afraid to go that extra mile. Share the magic with our cast member buddies to help counteract some of the meanies they might encounter on the daily. Every once in a while, I'll bring some thank you cards with some gift cards inside and hand them out to cast members that I see are having a rough day or really made a guest's day right in front of me. Along the same lines, remember that situations like line cutting and taking tables and all of that might be stressful, but if you're not directly involved with the situation, don't force yourself into the problem because it could make matters worse. If you're particularly worried about a certain guest, especially when it comes to someone else's safety, reach out to a nearby cast member and let them know what's going on. They'll be able to reach out to their security team to help de-escalate the situation. The most important thing to remember is to put your safety and your family's safety above your desire to be a hero. show. I know this can be hard to do, but trust me, Disney's security team is trained for all types of guest interactions, and we appreciate them immensely for that. And Disney does have plainclothes security in most areas, so they should be able to get there very quickly. Oh, let's talk about the buses. Remember how I mentioned earlier that Disney World is ginormous and can be tough to get around because of its sheer size? Fortunately, you don't have to drive from place to place if you don't want to. Disney provides complimentary transportation services around the parks and resorts, and depending on which park or resort you're at, that'll determine which transportation method you use. But more often than not, you'll be able to take a Disney shuttle pretty much anywhere. While we do appreciate the Disney buses toting us around from place to place, they have air conditioning, they have phone chargers, they're great, but those bus rides are not going to be fast by any means. For example, if you make it to the park early in the morning and then decide to go back to your hotel before 11 a.m., you'll probably be waiting quite some time for a bus to show up. Early in the day, not many guests are heading back to their rooms just yet, so the number of buses running will be lower than it would be at midday or into the afternoon. If you're staying at certain hotels like Old Key West or Saratoga Springs, Port Orleans, Caribbean Beach, Coronado Springs, then you'll also have to deal with the internal bus loops. Since these resorts are made up of several buildings, you may have to stop off at a few different bus stations before finally leaving to go to the parks, or you may have to make a few stops on the way back at the end of the night before you get dropped off at your bus stop. Then there are some spots where it just feels like it takes forever to get anywhere. Animal Kingdom, Animal Kingdom Lodge, Coronado Springs, All-Star Resorts. They're somewhat clustered on one end of the Disney property all by themselves, so your bus rides from those places could take longer than others. And if you're planning on relying on Disney's bus service to take you around property, we do recommend that you budget an hour of extra time for transportation to get wherever you're going, no matter where you're traveling to. May seem excessive at first, but you're not just counting total transit time here. You'll also need to schedule in time to wait for the bus to arrive, load the bus, travel, unload, and get to wherever you're going, which, I mean, if you took the bus to Epcot, you've got to walk into Epcot, you've got to go through security, you've got to go through the turnstiles, and then maybe you're trying to get to a Remy's Ratatouille Adventure Lightning Lane. That's about a 20-minute walk across the park because you're going to literally the opposite end of that park. And a lot of people don't take that into consideration, how far they actually have to walk once they get in the park to get to their destination. So yeah, it can be a much longer trip than you think. If you've looked at some of those bus travel times online, which will say, okay, you can get from Animal Kingdom Lodge to Magic Kingdom in 20 minutes, that's great. Then you have to get off the bus, get into Magic Kingdom, and get to wherever you're going. So that's going to take an extra, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on lines and depending on crowds. Now, if you don't want to deal with the Disney bus headache, you may want to schedule a rideshare pickup like Uber or Lyft instead for an extra cost. If you're in no big hurry to get anywhere fast, then no need for a premium rideshare. But if you're running late for a dining reservation and you don't have time to wait on the shuttles to come get you, then paying for a rideshare, Uber, Lyft, minivan could end up saving you money so you don't have to worry about any dining cancellation fees. So Disney World hotels are very cool and well themed and a great time. But at the end of the day, they're still hotels and they are huge, most of them. So you're still going to have the same kind of hotel problems that you might run into at any other hotel you stay in. This includes those super thin walls where you can hear doors slamming and toilets flushing and kids squealing as they splash around in the pool. You've got inconvenient room locations sometimes where your room is placed way out in the boonies, away from the restaurants and main pools and gift shops and bell services. And rooms that are simply flat out disappointing since you might have been hoping for a newly renovated one, but instead got placed in one of the older models. Or maybe they put you in one of those weird corner rooms that's smaller than all the rest and doesn't have that big vanity space that all the other ones do. There's a lot that can kind of be less than ideal. And no amount of pixie dust can cover up the fact that Disney's hotels still have the same downfalls as other hotels. But that doesn't mean you're for sure going to be disappointed in your home away from home. In the My Disney Experience app, you can make some room requests for certain buildings or locations at your resort when you check in. So if you want to be placed on the first floor or a room close to the lobby, or you want a room far away from the main pool area, then you might be able to make those requests. If those requests are not available when you do the automatic check-in, you can always call the hotel and ask them to put those requests on your reservation. It's very easy to do. Make sure you do it 5 days before your trip, because that's when they assign those rooms, is about 5 days before you get there. Now, there's no guarantee your request will be fulfilled, but cast members can try their best to grant these wishes if they can. Because remember, a lot of people are making a lot of requests. It's like a giant 3D puzzle to get them all to work out. So it's always a good idea to ask and cross your fingers and hope for the best. Now, once you've moved into your hotel room, now it's time to make it as livable as possible. Even if you don't wind up with the brand new remodeled room you were hoping for, that doesn't mean you can't dazzle it up with your own Disney magic. You're more than welcome to bring banners and magnets and fun decorations to put up in your hotel room door and in the window if you want to spruce up the place. Just make sure those decorations are easy for you to take on and off by the end of your trip, so leave the stickers and window paints behind. Nervous about those thin walls? Pack the noise blockers like earplugs and white noise machines. That's going to help you get a good night's sleep no matter what. And believe me, if you don't bring them, you're going to need them. That's how stuff works. And of course, in the absolute worst case scenario, you can call the front desk and see if there are any other rooms available. Don't be a jerk about it, but if it's a situation that is just untenable for you, you can definitely ask them for a room change. They may not be able to furnish one that day, it may be the following day, but they will accommodate as much as they can. So another super bummer about Disney World that a lot of people don't realize till they get there, believe it or not, is that not everyone can ride everything. There are so many different rides to experience across the Disney parks. You got those dark rides, the fast rides, the coaster rides, the safari rides, the water rides, all kinds of rides. But not every ride will be a good fit for everybody. If you're prone to motion sickness, for example, then rides like Mission Space and Epcot, Mad Tea Party in Magic Kingdom, Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios could throw off your stomach and head for the rest of the day. This is why packing those anti-nausea meds in your park bag is a good idea. But like we've said before, if you don't have any on hand and you're kind of surprised by how you feel after some of these rides, parks do have first aid locations that will supply you with free, sample-sized, over-the-counter medications you might need to help soothe your head or your tummy. Now, while Disney World is a place for all ages, some rides will require you to be a certain height before you can ride. If you're going to be traveling with a little kid in tow, check on these height requirements ahead of time. Make sure you're not going to be standing in line for a ride that your kid's not going to be able to ride, because that can be the most significant heartbreaker of the trip. Now, if you or someone in your group is using a wheelchair to navigate the park, some rides may require you to transfer out of your wheelchair or ECV before boarding the ride. We've got a whole post that covers which rides require that transfer, but some rides that don't require you to do so whatsoever include experiences like Jungle Cruise and Magic Kingdom and Journey into Imagination with Figment. These have specific vehicles that can accommodate both wheelchairs and ECVs, so bonus. And for the pregnant mamas out there who might not get a whole lot of thrills out of their Disney World vacation because they won't be able to ride several of the rides throughout the parks, keep in mind that Disney is more than just rides. As you're making your way around the park, there are tons of shows and restaurants and side exhibits for you to explore too. Or better yet, if you don't want to become the designated bag holder while everyone else rides the coasters, treat yourself to a spa day over at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa while the rest of your group goes out and conquers the thrill rides. Just saying. So you know the DFB team is in the parks and resorts every single day, but that doesn't mean there isn't ever a time we're suddenly in desperate need of sunscreen or aspirin or rain gear or moleskin that we forgot to pick up before we venture inside the Disney bubble, because we ain't perfect. Nobody is. Sure, we can pick these things up in the resort gift shops because that might be our quickest and most convenient thing to do, but those last minute necessities will cost a lot more at Disney World than they will at your standard drugstore. Here's a few examples just so you can see what we're talking about here. If I needed some sunscreen, a bottle of Coppertone SPF 30 from Disney is going to set me back about $14. Meanwhile, the same sunscreen is going to cost half that price at any other big box store outside the Disney bubble. Looking for a bottle of baby Orajel? You can find one at Disney for $8, but you can find a bundle of 2 bottles at Walmart for $6. If the sun already had its way with you and you need to treat a burn, a bottle of Solar Cane at Disney is about $9, but the same bottle pretty much anywhere else is going to cost you about $2 to $3 cheaper than that. I could keep going, but you get the idea. It's much better to purchase these items ahead of your trip or make a separate trip outside the Disney bubble to pick them up from a nearby drugstore. You can also have what you need delivered to your hotel if you don't want to drive off property. Grocery delivery services can get these items sent straight to Bell Services at your resort. Bing, bang, boom, all done. Keep in mind, though, that not all of these services offer free delivery, and there'll often be a minimum order amount you need to reach before you can get what you need delivered to your hotel. but you'll also be able to find promo codes to help cut down on those extra expenses and still make this a cheaper and more convenient way to get those necessities over to you. That being said, delivery services are not as quick as, say, catching an Uber ride. It'll still take a bit for someone to pick up your groceries and bring them over to your resort, and if you need that sunscreen or painkiller immediately, then it's nice to know that the Disney resorts still have them for you to buy immediately, though we're still not super thrilled to have to pay so much extra for them. So Disney World is a great vacation destination for families and friends of all ages and preferences, but you can't go into a major trip like this without preparing for the worst parts of it. So keep checking back here with us. Keep today's tips at the forefront of your mind as you continue your planning, and don't forget to download those free planning worksheets we're keeping just for you over at disneyfoodblog.com/DisneyPlans. You can trust us to tell you the truth. You know we're making mistakes in Disney World every single day so that you don't have to make those. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.